We've all waited for some rides and gotten off and just thought, that was a waste of 4 hours. No? Just me? Okay. Anyway, I get off rides and give it a proper, super official wait time that I would wait for the maximum. Does anyone else do this? No? Yeah, I didn't think so. Anyway, I decide how long I will wait for a ride based on intensity, theming, length, queue experience, and just generally how much I enjoyed it, or how much it subverts my expectations that I had of it. And in this video, I will tell you how long I will wait for some rides. So, my opinions on this ride could possibly cause a bit of controversy, considering that I personally really like 13 as opposed to the other ride in this area. But anyway, this ride has a very secret element that is so secret that it's been kept totally secret for about 16 years now.
Well, that ride was a bit timid. At least it's time now to get off. Apparently a little jolt there. Okay, let's go. Ah! Oh! Oh! Ah!
13, unlike some of the other rides at Alton Towers, is a family coaster, meaning that it has a shorter height requirement of 1.2 metres compared to the 1.4 metre height requirement of something like the Smiler. Its height requirements, however, are not surprising considering its tame layout. This ride overall has a very good layout, with it twisting through the woods, giving decent airtime on some of the hills after this out. Do I not know what a comma is? Oh my god! This ride has a very good overall layout, with it twisting through the woods, giving decent airtime on some of the hills. After the outside section, it goes into the scary building that actually smells really nice in my opinion. And just a slight bit of an aside, the air cannons in this building are scarier than the drop track itself. After that part, you go into the lovely dark helix, and the best bit of the ride, you go into a switch track, then launch forward. Rita has nothing on that launch. Overall, I really like 13, and although that I think the outside section of the layout could be a little bit longer, I would gladly wait 35 minutes for it. However, if the single rider queue is short, so not up to the baggage hold, then I would rather go in there and wait only 5 to 10 minutes instead. However, sometimes you can wait like 45 minutes when at the stairs down to the station. That's happened to me before. In school trip season. Don't go then. Thorpe Park's rides are quite hit and miss because on one hand you have a ride like the Swarm, which has a great theme with great area theming and a great layout, or you have something like Saw the Ride where the layout is awful but the queue is really good with its theming. Or you have Hyperia, which everyone glazes because it's more like something you get in America, but it's also somehow like a glorified car park coaster in a way, because it's got like no theming in the ride area, and it's more stylized to, I don't even know, like an algae-filled swamp. Anyway, the layout is the only thing worth riding it for. The only reason why it's in my top 10 is because of the layout. Everything about it, apart from that, is not that great. I'm going to start off with talking about this ride's layout so I don't begin to sound like I hate fun. This ride begins with a small outer bank out of the station, which, honestly, is really fun. Then we have the dreaded, the lift hill. Possibly the most boring bit of the ride because nothing goes on a lift hill, but at least there's music. The music's good. The drop. This is really good with the motion of going 180 degrees twisting. Truly a very good element. The next good element is the big outer bank where you outer bank and then you do a roll down into the oversized dive loop with about a bajillion seconds of No! No, not airtime, you're upside down! You want hang time! No! The next good element is the big outer bank, where you outer bank, and then you roll down into the oversized dive loop with about a bajillion seconds of hang time. That element is very good. The only other part worth noting is the splashdown, which we'll put a pin in and talk about later. Now, onto the bad bits of the ride, the theming. This ride is more stylized than themed, which is a very common Thorpe Park theme, but it's not got much going for it. It's got some stones and rocks in the area, the queue line has a bit of grass in it, and the biggest point of it, it's got a big algae-filled lake. Yeah, there's not much. The actual area is about as big as the ride in ride time as well. It's just like one little indent into the path with the ride's entrance and a shop and Cloud9 treats, get up. And yeah, apart from that, it's just kind of empty. The floor has wings on it, but that's like all I can really say about the stylization. Back to what I said about the splashdown now. It's useless and should not have been put on the ride whatsoever. It doesn't work and hasn't worked since the 5th day of operation for this ride, which operation could take me off into another tangent, but I need to stay on this video's target or people will click off for me waffling. With all that being said though, I would wait about 45 to 50 minutes for Hyperia, depending on the day. Yeah, sure, the ride's worth waiting a lot longer for, but the actual queue and area are both really underwhelming, with awful stylization and a shitty, unbearable mess of cattle pens in the queue. Not to mention the loud-ass lift motor you have to stand next to. Anyway, at least the cattle pens aren't as bad as... The world record coaster for inversions, and in terms of the GP, the scariest ride in the park, the Smiler has a horrible queue line. When I first rode it, I waited 2 hours for it, and it was literally hell. I will never wait that long for it again, especially with the subwoofer speakers blasting your eardrums in. I swear I have tinnitus from the first time I rode this. Luckily for me, however, I have grown used to the soundtrack, and now I like it. Though, the subwoofers do still hurt a lot. This ride has 11 great inversions, and the last 3 make me require a chiropractor after. There's also 2 airtime hills that hit better than some of the inversions on this ride, which I think is quite ironic for being an inversion-based ride. I think my favourite ride on the Smiler was the one that I did on my school trip. Now, although we all went into single rider and rode separately, I will never forget coming off of the ride and one of my friends' reactions. I loved it. Same thing with Oblivion, when we actually rode it together. I didn't tell them about the indoor inversion, so that also added to the fun. This ride will always hold a special place in my heart because I've gotten people into rides using this ride and it's just a pretty good ride experience overall. And so I would wait a maximum of an advertised 60 minutes for Smiler. This is because I don't like the subwoofer speakers when I get to that one section of the queue. It's also just because it's a boring queue line. Sure, the ride goes above you, but what else is there? It's just cattle pens, and there's always one more than you think there'll be. Like, you think you're on the last one, but you've still got 3 left. Then after that, you think you're done? No, there's still like 3 more, or 4 more, on the indoor bit. Then you thought that was the last one. Wait until you get to the station. Unless you're in the single rider queue, there's another cattle pen in the station. Why are there so many? My final reason for why I would wait an advertised 60 minutes is because it's always underestimated. I was once done an advertised 80 minutes for this ride. something which I wouldn't do anyway, but I waited 120 minutes for it. This was my first ride on it. So, if it's advertised 60 minutes or higher, you best believe I'm just gonna go into the single rider queue, unless it's queuing outside of the building, because that's probably longer than the main queue at that point.
Want to find out how it feels to be a human cannonball? Brace yourself. 3, 2, 1, fire!
This ride doesn't overall do much, but what it does very well. For example, it's the only ride in the country where you can launch from 0 to 80 miles per hour in just 1.8 seconds. This ride also might have the world's fastest acceleration now that didnt has closed, but I don't want to get into a debate with the Americans that say that Max Force has a faster acceleration, which is 0 to 78 miles per hour in the same 1.8 seconds. Stealth is in the area of Thorpe Park called Amity Speedway, and the actual ride is more stylised, just like Hyperia, but this time it's stylised to a 1950s American drag race. But the last time I checked, drag races don't go up a 205-foot top hat. The ride's queue is also quite nice, with it being very nature-heavy, weaving in and out of like the sunken gardens, and it's like full of grass and flowers and nice plants. And you also get great interaction with the ride in the queue as you pass underneath the launch track when you get closer to the station. Finally, the ride experience. The launch on this ride is insane. I love the feeling of launching that fast on a coaster. When you start rising up the top hat, you pull some great forces, which feel really, really good. And once you reach the top, all the way until you start to about level out, you get some amazing floater. As you level out again, you start to be subjected to some amazing positive forces again, and finally, on the final hill, the brakes kick in quite early as you're cresting it, so you start to get airtime as you go up, but then you hit the brakes and then you're forced forward, creating a very, very violent bit of airtime, but it's so much fun. I love this ride so much. Overall, for this ride, I would wait a total time of about 85 minutes, as the intensity going up the top hat is absurdly good, and the airtime from the top all the way down is amazing, and the violent bit of airtime on the hill is also great. I love how this ride goes faster than the national speed limit on a motorway and a dual carriageway, and it goes 50 miles per hour faster than the national speed limit in a built-up area. Thorpe Park, think about the school kids! Oh, also, Stealth goes 76.212646 miles per hour faster than the M25 on a good day. So, although the ride is about 3 seconds long, it still packs a massive punch for what it does have, exactly justifying the 85-minute wait time that I would give it. Finally, on to Nemesis. I think everyone watching knows what it is, but if you don't, what the hell are you doing? This ride is the ride in the UK, apart from Hyperia, obviously. Anyway, onto the layout. This ride opens with a right turn. That is correct, a right turn into the lift hill. After the lift hill, where I should have started, it goes into a left half helix down into a proper drop. Down into the first version, and you've fallen asleep, okay. I swear the layout's good, I just won't quote John Wardley the whole time, I promise. After the corkscrew, there's a very tight and intense helix. It's hard to explain if you've never gone on it, so if you have enough money to afford the atrocious car parking prices, £13 to park, then go on it. After the monstrous helix, we have a 0G roll with a total of stall turn, which gives the queue line something nice to look at. Your shoes. Like, Sure, your dark red Converse look nice, but is there anything else to look at? Anyway, we then reach the vertical loop, which, in the video of it testing, which you'll see now, I guess, the ride nearly stalled, so that's fun. And in the tunnel after... That's the main interesting bit of the layout. But I must mention, before the last corkscrew, you fly past the Mushroom Cloud tour bus, which, last time I checked, John Narcotic was looking for that one. That's a drugs joke. Now, onto the theming. So, this ride contains theming from where you walk into the entrance gate of Forbidden Valley. So, when you enter, you pass under a gateway that says Phalanx Facility, but it's overrun by tentacles that spell out Forbidden Valley, which is really cool, and I love it. So, a little fun fact about these tentacles, there's roughly 100 meters of them in the whole area, which is very cool, and I don't know what else to say about them, so I'm going to move on. When you walk under the entrance portal, you're greeted with an arcade, Nemesis Egg Viewing Museum, and a tank, which every single enthusiast and their nan has a photo in front of. If you walk further into the area, you reach a helicopter, which, if you turn right, you reach the food areas, which I will not be covering in this video because 2 reasons. It's not about Nemesis, and I've never eaten at them. If you go straight on, you reach the Nemesis Containment Zone, and more importantly, Costa Coffee. Again, I can't go there because of a nut allergy. But onto the actual ride, because to enter the ride queue, you walk under the Nemesis Reborn entry gate with a really cool 3D logo for the ride, which I love that touch, it's very cool. And as you walk through the queue, you see pieces of track scattered around, which are actually pieces which didn't fit in when they were retracking the ride. So that's quite a cool touch. There's also a cannon in the queue line which plays a blasting sound effect when the train comes near. It's also covered in strawberry laces. Delicious. As you get closer to the station, there's a big hill that gives a great interaction with the actual ride, as it gets really close to you at points. And the helicopter lets off smoke, or mist, I don't know, every so often, and has a little audio clip coming from it. It just adds to the immersion of this ride insanely. The last thing I want to say about this ride is the sheer amount of references within the area. To name a few, the broken helicopter in this ride has SB-IFT written on it, which stands for the ride's old slogan, "Sit back, it's fright time." Another reference is on the maintenance bay, where it says Hangar 24 P-A1X-Air Command. The Hangar 24 bit is because the retracked version of the ride opened in 2024, and the P-A1X bit stands for Phalanx, the Nemesis research organisation in the area. And finally, the Air Command bit is because of the other ride in the area, Galactica, which, when it was opened, it was called Air. The third and final thing that I will mention about this area is the big helicopter, which has the writing THNDR-V on it, which is a reference to what Forbidden Valley used to be called pre-Nemesis, which is Thunder Valley. Overall, because of this ride's theming, ride experience, and just overall feel, I would wait a total of 105 minutes for Nemesis Reborn. This is purely because of the immersion felt within the area, and from when you step in and the actual experience of riding it. Nemesis has a slight rattle, sure, but it's not that bad. Most definitely not as bad as how some people describe it. Like it's the end of the world. It's really not. I could go on another rant on the B&M rattle, but I don't know, I'll just link my video on it at the end of this one, I guess. In conclusion, if I was in a park for just one day, I would rather ride a ride like Nemesis, which has great theming and a great layout, as opposed to something like Icon with stylization and a great layout. Hey, sometimes I might wait for a ride with good theming and a mediocre layout. However, I would wait for something like Stealth, which has an amazing layout and not as much theming. Yes, I'm aware it's meant to be stylized. As opposed to Rita, which has good theming of trees and a really boring layout after the first hill. And with my remark about Icon, I love Icon. So, just to get that, I love Icon. Anyway, I'm off for a cuppa before I start some controversy between rides.